Welcome to Wife Cheating Story. I hope you have an enjoyable and relaxing time listening. Let's get started.
We're thankful for your continued viewership. Before we begin, tell us, where in the world are you watching from? We love knowing our global reach. Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1, Foundations. Bryant Rayner stood at the window of his modest apartment, watching raindrops chase each other down the glass. Once the owner of a thriving construction company and a beautiful suburban home, he now lived in a two-bedroom walk-up that smelled perpetually of the Chinese restaurant downstairs. His calloused hands, still bearing the marks of someone who'd worked his way up from nothing, clenched into fists. 3 months had passed since Melody Rayner had filed for divorce. 3 months of sleeping on a pull-out couch so his children, Liam, 7, and Aubrey, 5, could have the only bedroom. 3 months of Melody's lawyer insisting that Bryant was an unfit father because he couldn't provide the lifestyle they deserved. The irony cut deep. Bryant had built that lifestyle brick by brick over 15 years, only to have it torn away through a perfect storm of betrayal. "Dad," Liam's voice pulled Bryant from his thoughts. "Are we going to be late for school again?" Bryant turned to his son, forcing a smile. "Not today, champion. Get your sister. We're leaving in 5. As the children gathered their backpacks, Bryant slipped the worn photo from his wallet, the 4 of them at Liam's 5th birthday, before everything imploded. Before he discovered that Melody had been sleeping with Levi Preston, his business partner of 10 years. Bryant had met Melody waitressing at a diner near his first construction site. He was 22, working 18-hour days to get his fledgling business off the ground. She was 20, putting herself through business school. They'd fallen hard and fast, marrying within a year. For 13 years, they'd been the perfect team, Bryant handling the building, Melody the books. When Levi came on board as a partner, bringing connections to high-end clients, Bryant thought they were unstoppable. Until 6 months ago, when a fire destroyed their warehouse and equipment worth millions. Insurance denied the claim, citing irregularities. Investigations pointed to arson, though nothing was proven. With contracts unfulfilled and lawsuits mounting, Bryant's company collapsed within weeks. Just as bankruptcy loomed, Melody filed for divorce. "Ready, Dad," Aubrey called, her blonde pigtails bouncing as she ran to him. Kissing the top of her head, Bryant pushed away the darkness. His children were all that mattered now. As he drove them to Melody's sprawling new home, purchased somehow despite their financial ruin, Bryant spotted Levi's Porsche in the driveway. The sight of it parked where his truck once stood made bile rise in his throat. "Mom's friend is here again," Liam muttered, his young face hardening in a way that broke Bryant's heart. "Remember what we talked about?" Bryant said quietly. "Be respectful, even when it's hard." What he didn't say. Watch everything. Remember everything. Tell me everything. Because Bryant Rayner wasn't just a father fighting for custody. He was a man collecting evidence, piecing together the truth behind his downfall. And somewhere in that house lay answers. Answers his 7-year-old son had just become his unwitting spy to uncover. Chapter 2, Revelations. 3 weeks of custodial visits had yielded little. Bryant sat at his kitchen table, scribbling notes while his lawyer, Diana Cruz, reviewed financial documents. "They're hiding something," Bryant insisted. "The timeline doesn't add up." 3 weeks before the fire, Melody transferred $50,000 to a personal account I never knew existed. Diana sighed. "Suspicious, yes. Proof of criminal activity, no. Without concrete evidence linking Melody or Levi to the arson." "I know my wife," Bryant interrupted. "She calculated every move since college." This wasn't impulsive. Diana leaned forward. "Bryant, the custody hearing is in 2 weeks. Judge Moretti has a reputation for traditional values. If we can't prove Melody's living situation is harmful to the children, she's living with my ex-business partner while still legally married to me. That's not harmful. In today's courts?" "Barely raises an eyebrow," Diana replied. "We need more than moral indignation. Without financial stability on your side." Bryant's phone rang, Melody's number. Answering on speaker, he kept his voice neutral. "Liam's running a fever. Melody said without preamble. I have an important dinner with Levi's investors. Can you take them tonight? Bryant caught Diana's eye, who nodded vigorously. I'll be there in 20 minutes, he replied, then hung up. Perfect opportunity, Diana said. The children will be more talkative when they're away from her influence. Bryant already had his keys. Text me if you find anything else in those statements. When Bryant arrived, Melody barely acknowledged him, rushing past in a cocktail dress that probably cost a month of his rent. Levi stood in the background, watching Bryant with barely concealed contempt. They've both eaten, Melody said, slipping on diamond earrings Bryant had never seen before. Liam's medicine is in his backpack. I'll pick them up after school tomorrow. I'll take them to school, Bryant offered. Melody pursed her lips. Fine, but don't be late again. It reflects poorly on me, I know, Bryant finished. Your lawyer has made that abundantly clear. Later that night, with Aubrey asleep and Liam drowsy from medicine, Bryant sat on the edge of his son's bed. How are things at Mom's house, buddy? He asked casually, smoothing Liam's hair. Liam yawned. Okay, I guess. She and Mr. Preston argue sometimes when they think we're asleep. About what? Money stuff. And someone named Russo. Mom said he's getting impatient. Bryant kept his expression neutral despite his racing pulse. Vincent Russo was a developer with rumored mob connections, someone Levi had courted as a client before Bryant vetoed the partnership. Anything else? Liam hesitated. Mom has a special safe in her closet. I saw her put papers in it yesterday. She said if I ever told anyone about it, I'd never see you again. Bryant's blood ran cold. Did you see what the papers were? Liam shook his head, eyes drooping. No, but she types a code to open it. 2-5-8-4. Bryant kissed his son's forehead. You're a good kid, Liam. Get some sleep now. After Liam drifted off, Bryant called Diana. I need you to find everything you can on Vincent Russo, he said quietly. And I think I know where to find her smoking gun. Chapter 3. Infiltration. The weekend custody arrangement gave Bryant 16 hours to execute his plan. He dropped the children at his parents' farm outside the city, then met with a former employee who now worked security. Standard biometrics safe, Mason said, examining the photos Bryant had taken during a bathroom break at Melody's house. If you have the code, you're halfway there. But these newer models often have a secondary fingerprint scan. Can it be bypassed? Mason hesitated. Technically, yes, but we're talking felony breaking and entering. Bryant's expression darkened. They already took everything else. What's left to lose? Late that night, Bryant parked 3 blocks from Melody's house and approached through the wooded area behind the property. Levi's Porsche was gone, at a charity gala, according to Melody's social media. The house was dark except for the porch light. Using the key he'd secretly duplicated from Liam's backpack, Bryant entered through the side door. The alarm panel blinked red. Armed, Bryant punched in the code that had been their anniversary date, holding his breath. The light turned green. Some things never change, he thought grimly. Moving silently through the house, Bryant found the master bedroom, still furnished with pieces he'd handcrafted for their 10th anniversary. The walk-in closet was bigger than his current bedroom, Melody's designer clothes organized meticulously. The safe was hidden behind a panel of shoes. Bryant entered 2-5-8-4, his heart pounding. The digital display flashed green, then prompted for a fingerprint. Bryant pulled out a plastic bag containing a water glass Melody had used during their last custody exchange. Mason had lifted the print and created a silicone replica. Bryant pressed it against the scanner. Access granted. Inside were financial documents, property deeds, and a manila envelope labeled contingency. Bryant photographed everything methodically, his hand steady despite the adrenaline. The last document made his blood run cold. A handwritten agreement between Melody and Levi dated 8 months ago, outlining a plan to eliminate Bryant from the equation and secure company assets before liquidation. Attached was a life insurance policy on Bryant that Melody had taken out without his knowledge. Most damning was a USB drive. Bryant plugged it into his phone with an adapter, finding audio recordings of Melody and Levi discussing the warehouse fire in explicit detail, including their arrangement with an arsonist. We'll be set once the insurance pays out, Melody's voice said. If they investigate too deeply, everything points to Bryant cutting corners. And if he figs it out? Levi asked. He won't, Melody replied. But if he does, well, that's what the policy is for. Accidents happen in construction all the time. Bryant's hands trembled as he copied the files. They hadn't just planned to destroy his business. They considered eliminating him permanently. As he carefully replaced everything and resealed the safe, Bryant heard a car in the driveway. Moving swiftly, he exited through the basement window he'd unlocked earlier, disappearing into the darkness as the front door opened. In his car, Bryant called Diana. I've got everything, he said, voice ice cold. All of it. And it's worse than we thought. The hearing is in 4 days, Diana replied. Tell me you didn't break any laws obtaining this evidence. Bryant stared at the house that was once his home, now illuminated by security lights. Let's just say Melody made copies of some very incriminating documents, he answered carefully. And my son found them. Chapter 4, Courtroom Revelation. Judge Evelyn Moretti's courtroom fell silent as Wesley Harmon, Melody's silver-tongued lawyer, delivered his closing argument. Your Honor, the facts speak for themselves, Harmon said, gesturing toward Bryant. Mr. Rayner currently resides in a 2-bedroom apartment in an undesirable neighborhood. He works irregular hours at a construction site and relies on his elderly parents for childcare. Meanwhile, Mrs. Rayner provides a spacious home in an excellent school district with financial stability and consistent routines. Bryant kept his expression neutral, feeling the weight of Liam and Aubrey's future hanging in the balance. Diana Cruz sat beside him, radiating quiet confidence despite Harmon's devastating portrait. Furthermore, Harmon continued, Mr. Rayner's financial collapse raises serious questions about his judgment. The children deserve better than a father who can barely keep a roof over their heads. Judge Moretti's hawkish gaze moved from Harmon to Bryant. Mr. Rayner, do you have anything to add before I deliberate? Bryant started to rise, but Diana placed a restraining hand on his arm. Your Honor, Diana said, standing instead. We've submitted evidence detailing the circumstances of Mr. Rayner's financial situation. As outlined in our brief, there are serious questions about the warehouse fire that destroyed his business. Questions that Mrs. Rayner and her companion, Mr. Preston, have yet to address satisfactorily. Melody shifted uncomfortably while Levi glared from the gallery. Judge Moretti shuffled through papers. I've reviewed your allegations, Ms. Cruz. Without criminal charges, they remain speculative and largely irrelevant to this custody determination. Then perhaps more direct evidence would be pertinent, Diana suggested. We'd like to call a witness. Harmon scoffed. Your Honor, we weren't notified of additional witnesses. This is highly irregular. Who is this witness, Ms. Cruz? Judge Moretti asked. Liam Rayner, Your Honor. The minor child whose custody is at issue. A murmur rippled through the courtroom. Judge Moretti frowned. This is unusual, Ms. Cruz. Children's testimony is typically taken in chambers. I understand, Your Honor. However, given the nature of the information, we believe. Absolutely not. Melody interrupted, rising from her seat. I won't allow my son to be manipulated into. Mrs. Rayner, the judge cut in sharply. You'll have your say through counsel. As the adults argued, a small figure stood in the spectators section where Bryant's parents sat with the children. Liam walked determinedly to the gate separating the gallery from the court floor. I want to talk, the 7-year-old announced, his voice silencing the bickering lawyers. I found something important. Judge Moretti's stern expression softened slightly. Young man, this isn't how court procedures work. But it's about the papers in Mom's secret safe, Liam persisted. The ones that say she and Mr. Preston started the fire to hurt Dad's company. The courtroom erupted. Melody went pale, while Levi half rose from his seat before his lawyer yanked him back down. Your Honor, Harmon shouted over the commotion. This is clearly rehearsed testimony. Mr. Rayner has obviously coached the child. Judge Moretti banged her gavel. Order. Everyone sit down. She fixed Melody with a penetrating stare. Mrs. Rayner, do you have a safe in your home? Melody's composure cracked. Of course I do, but that's not. And would your son have knowledge of this safe? He must have been snooping, Melody snapped. Children imagine things. I didn't imagine the recordings, Liam said clearly. I copied them after I saw Mom hide the little computer stick. Bryant hadn't anticipated this. He'd carefully prepared Liam to mention the letter he'd found, the agreement between Melody and Levi, but not the recordings. Somehow, his son had conducted his own intelligence operation. Judge Moretti turned to Liam. Young man, do you have these recordings with you? Liam nodded solemnly, reaching into his pocket and producing a small USB drive, different from the one Bryant had discovered. Grandpa helped me copy it from Mom's computer after I took the other one from her safe. I put that one back like in the spy movies. The courtroom fell silent as the bailiff took the drive and handed it to the judge. Melody's face had drained of all color. Your Honor, Harmon interjected desperately. Whatever that device contains, it was obtained illegally by a minor child. It cannot possibly be admissible. Mr. Harmon, Judge Moretti said coolly, I'll determine admissibility after reviewing the contents. Court is in recess for 1 hour. Mrs. Rayner and Mr. Preston will remain in the building. She fixed them with a steely gaze. I strongly suggest you contact criminal defense attorneys. As the courtroom emptied, Bryant knelt before his son. Liam, why didn't you tell me about the second drive? He asked quietly. The boy's eyes were serious beyond his years. Because Mom said people who knew too much got hurt. I wanted us both to be safe. In that moment, Bryant realized his son hadn't just been a pawn in this game. He'd been a player, watching and calculating just like his father. Chapter 5, Consequences. 1 hour stretched into 3 as Judge Moretti reviewed the evidence in chambers with representatives from the district attorney's office. Bryant waited with the children and his parents in a conference room, while Melody and Levi were sequestered elsewhere with their respective attorneys. Diana entered, her expression cautiously triumphant. They're still reviewing everything, but the recordings are damning, she reported. Melody and Levi discussing not just the arson, but plans to frame you if investigations got too close. There's also evidence they've been systematically draining company accounts for over a year. Bryant absorbed this with cold satisfaction. And custody? Judge Moretti has separated that determination from the criminal matters. But given the circumstances, Diana's smile widened. She's indicated a strong presumption in your favor. When court reconvened, the atmosphere was electric. 2 plainclothes detectives now sat behind the prosecutor's table. Judge Moretti's face was granite as she called the court to order. Based on evidence that has come to light during these proceedings, I am issuing emergency temporary orders, she announced. Full physical and legal custody of Liam and Aubrey Rayner is granted to their father, Bryant Rayner, effective immediately. Bryant exhaled slowly, feeling a weight lift from his chest. Furthermore, the judge continued, Mrs. Rayner is to have no contact with the minor children pending criminal investigation into matters revealed today. She turned to the detectives. The court has provided copies of all evidence to law enforcement. You may proceed. The detectives rose. Melody Rayner and Levi Preston, you're under arrest for fraud, conspiracy, and arson, one announced. What followed was chaos. Melody screaming that Bryant had set her up, Levi attempting to flee before being tackled by bailiffs, and Harmon desperately trying to negotiate surrender terms. Through it all, Bryant remained seated, one arm around each child, his expression revealing nothing of the savage satisfaction coursing through him. Later, as they prepared to leave the courthouse, Diana pulled Bryant aside. Most men would feel vindicated now, she observed. You don't seem particularly celebratory. Bryant watched his children gathering their things with his parents. This isn't victory, he said quietly. It's just the beginning. Diana studied him. Bryant, you've got custody, and they're facing serious prison time. What more do you want? Bryant's eyes were flat and cold. They planned to kill me, Diana. They destroyed everything I spent 15 years building. They traumatized my children. He buttoned his jacket with deliberate precision. This legal proceeding? It's just round 1. Bryant, Diana warned, whatever you're planning, don't. You've won. Don't throw it away on revenge. Bryant smiled, a smile that didn't reach his eyes. I'm a law-abiding citizen who's been grievously wronged. I'm simply going to ensure justice is fully served. As they left the courthouse, reporters surged forward, shouting questions. Bryant guided his family past them without comment, but paused at the bottom of the steps when one reporter thrust a microphone in his face. Mr. Rayner, how do you feel about your ex-wife's arrest? Bryant looked directly into the camera. Justice is a patient process, he said calmly. And so am I. Chapter 6, Preparation. 3 months after the courtroom revelation, life had achieved a new normal. Bryant had moved the children to a comfortable 3-bedroom house in a safe neighborhood, using money from the insurance settlement finally paid after the arson investigation cleared him of wrongdoing. His construction business was slowly rebuilding, focusing on smaller projects with reliable clients who had stood by him. The children were in therapy, processing their mother's betrayal and subsequent disappearance from their lives. Melody and Levi had both posted bail, Melody using her parents' retirement savings as collateral, Levi through connections that raised questions among investigators. Their criminal trial was still months away. Bryant sat at his kitchen table late one night, reviewing documents Diana had forwarded from the prosecutor's office. The case against Melody and Levi was strong, but not airtight. Both had hired aggressive defense attorneys who were attempting to paint Bryant as the mastermind who framed them after his business failed. His phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, shipping warehouse on Fletcher St. Midnight. Information about Preston you'll want. Come alone. Bryant stared at the message. It could be a trap, yet his instincts told him otherwise. He called his parents to check on the sleeping children, then drove to the industrial district. The warehouse was dark except for a single light near the loading dock. Bryant approached cautiously, one hand on the legal handgun he now carried. That won't be necessary, came a voice from the shadows. A man stepped into the light, tall, immaculately dressed, with silver temples and cold eyes. Vincent Russo. We have mutual acquaintances. Bryant didn't lower his guard. The developer Levi was courting, the one with certain connections. Russo smiled thinly. I prefer to think of myself as a businessman with diverse interests. Your former partner approached me about financing some projects after your company's unfortunate accident. Why contact me now? Professional courtesy. Preston has been making promises using assets he doesn't control. He's assured certain investors that once his legal troubles are resolved, he'll have access to your insurance settlement and business contracts. Bryant's jaw tightened. He'll be disappointed. Yes, well, disappointment can be dangerous in my circles. Russo handed Bryant a flash drive. Consider this insurance. Preston's been recording his conversations, including with his attorney. Apparently, he doesn't fully trust his paramour either. Bryant pocketed the drive. Why give me this? Let's just say I prefer dealing with men who honor their commitments. Preston is a liability. You are always the one with actual talent. Russo turned to leave. Oh, and Bryant? They're planning to offer testimony against each other. Neither is particularly loyal under pressure. After Russo departed, Bryant reviewed the files at home. The recordings confirmed his suspicions. Melody and Levi were already plotting against each other, each planning to claim the other was the mastermind. More valuable were their current schemes. Levi had hidden assets offshore that prosecutors hadn't discovered, while Melody had been contacting relatives about fleeing to a non-extradition country if things went south. Bryant created copies of everything before calling Diana. I need you to pass something to the prosecutor anonymously, he explained. And then I need your help with something else, something not strictly legal. Bryant, they were going to kill me, Diana, and now they're planning to run. The system won't deliver true justice. Silence stretched between them before Diana sighed. What do you need? Access to their electronic accounts, emails, financials, everything. I know you have contacts who can manage that. And if I get that for you, Bryant's voice was eerily calm. Then I ensure they destroy each other more thoroughly than the justice system ever could. The next morning, Bryant met with a man Diana had reluctantly connected him with, a cybersecurity expert named Otis who operated in gray areas of the law. Everything leaves a digital footprint, Otis explained, setting up untraceable equipment in Bryant's garage. With account credentials, I can create a comprehensive mirror of their digital lives without detection. How long? Give me a week. Then you'll have everything: emails, texts, financial records, cloud storage. Otis glanced up. Just remember, knowledge is power, but what you do with it determines whether you're the hero or villain of your story. Bryant's expression remained unchanged. In my experience, life isn't that black and white. Over the following weeks, Bryant immersed himself in his enemies' digital lives. He discovered Levi's network of shady investors, evidence of previous fraudulent schemes, and, most critically, his plan to double-cross Melody by planting evidence suggesting she had acted alone. Melody's communications revealed her own betrayal in progress. Secret meetings with prosecutors offering testimony against Levi in exchange for leniency, and plans to sue Bryant for defamation once criminal charges were reduced. Neither suspected they were being watched. Neither realized their weapons were being turned against them. Bryant created a secure email account and contacted each of their attorneys separately, anonymously providing evidence of their clients' planned betrayals. He sent select recordings to Levi's shadier investors, revealing plans to implicate them if necessary. To the prosecutors, he anonymously delivered proof of hidden assets and escape plans. "You're playing a dangerous game," Diana warned during a late-night call. "These people have already proven they're willing to commit arson. What happens when they realize someone's systematically dismantling their defenses?" "They'll suspect each other," Bryant replied. "That's the beauty of it. By the time they realize the truth, it'll be too late." As summer turned to fall, Bryant's plan unfolded with meticulous precision. The growing distrust between Melody and Levi became evident in their increasingly hostile court filings. Their legal teams began withdrawing, citing irreconcilable differences with clients. Bryant watched it all with detached satisfaction, compartmentalizing this dark work from his daytime role as devoted father rebuilding a normal life for his children. The final phase of his plan was ready. All that remained was to spring the trap that would ensure neither Melody nor Levi ever threatened his family again. Chapter 7: Entrapment. The exclusive Riverside restaurant was nearly empty at 3 p.m. on a Tuesday, exactly as Bryant had planned. Using one of Melody's email accounts, he'd arranged a meeting with Levi, masquerading as her willing to discuss a unified defense strategy. Through Levi's account, he'd sent a similar invitation to Melody. Neither would know the other was coming until it was too late. Bryant sat in a corner booth with clear sight lines to both entrances, nursing a whiskey and checking his watch. The waitstaff had been generously tipped to ensure privacy and specific seating arrangements. Melody arrived first, her designer outfit unable to hide the stress of recent months. She'd lost weight, and her once-perfect makeup couldn't conceal the shadows beneath her eyes. She scanned the restaurant anxiously before the hostess directed her to a booth one over from Bryant's, separated by a privacy partition. 15 minutes later, Levi entered, his trademark confidence notably diminished. His Italian suit hung looser on his frame, and his eyes darted nervously around the space before he was seated at a table positioned where neither he nor Melody could see each other from their respective locations. Bryant activated the recording devices he'd planted earlier that morning, disguised as ordinary personal items left at each table. Then he sent identical text messages from burner phones to both targets, running 10 minutes late. "Order a drink. We need to discuss the offshore accounts." Through carefully placed compact mirrors, Bryant watched the color drain from both their faces. Neither left, the mention of offshore accounts too critical to ignore. Another text to Melody. "I know you're planning to testify against me. Smart move, but dangerous. I still have the original plan in your handwriting." To Levi, "The DA has the recordings. You're the sacrificial lamb unless we coordinate our stories. Russo is getting impatient about his investment." Bryant watched their growing panic with cold satisfaction. After sending a final message to each, "Meet me in the private dining room and back," he slipped out a service entrance. From his car parked across the street, Bryant used a directional microphone to monitor what happened next. Melody and Levi, both expecting to meet their accomplice, instead encountered each other in the private dining room. "What the hell are you doing here?" Levi's voice crackled through Bryant's receiver. "Me? You texted me to come." Melody shot back. "I didn't text you anything. You contacted me about offshore accounts." Their confusion quickly escalated to accusations, then to threats, as each believed the other had set them up. "If you're wearing a wire for the DA, I swear to God," Levi growled. "Me? You're the one threatening to implicate me. I saw your emails to your attorney." "What emails?" "I never." Levi stopped suddenly. "Wait, someone's playing us against each other." A moment of silence fell before Melody whispered, "Bryant." Bryant smiled as he started his car. By now, they would be discovering the final element of his setup. An envelope he'd left in a private dining room containing copies of their most incriminating communications, along with a note. "The originals are with people who will release them if anything happens to me or my children. Your move." The next day, Bryant received separate calls from Melody's and Levi's new attorneys, requesting settlement discussions. "They're willing to plead guilty to reduced charges," Diana reported after the meetings. "No trial. No risk of you or Liam having to testify. Melody will relinquish all parental rights in exchange for a more lenient sentence. Levi will make full financial restitution." "And if I refuse?" Bryant asked, though he already knew the answer. Then they go to trial separately, each planning to blame the other. It would be messy, public, and traumatic for the children. Diana studied him. "This is a win, Bryant. Take it." Bryant nodded slowly. "Set up the paperwork. But add one condition. Neither can ever contact me or my children again. Any violation means immediate release of everything we have." Diana began to speak, then stopped herself. I never asked where all that additional evidence came from." Bryant's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Better that way, isn't it?" Chapter 8. Collapse. The plea agreements were signed on a rainy Thursday afternoon. Melody received 5 years with possibility of parole after 3 in exchange for relinquishing all parental rights and providing testimony about Levi's wider financial crimes. Levi got 8 years with no possibility of early release, plus full financial restitution to Bryant's business and additional penalties for the investors he defrauded. Bryant attended neither hearing, sending Diana in his place. He spent the day with Liam and Aubrey at the construction site of what would become their new home, a fresh start built by his own hands. "Is Mom really going to jail?" Aubrey asked as they watched concrete being poured for the foundation. Bryant knelt to her level. "Yes, Princess. For a few years. Because she did bad things with Mr. Preston?" "That's right." Liam, more aware of the complexities, asked the harder question. "Will we ever see her again?" Bryant looked his son directly in the eyes. "That will be your choice when you're older. For now, we're focusing on our new life." That evening, as the children slept, Bryant received a call from an unknown number. He almost declined it before curiosity won out. "Bryant Rayner." "You've ruined me." Melody's voice, hollow with defeat. "Are you satisfied now?" Bryant's grip tightened on the phone. "You're violating the no-contact order. What difference does it make? You've taken everything. My freedom, my children, my future. You took those things from yourself," Bryant replied coldly. "The moment you decided I was disposable." "It wasn't supposed to go this far," she whispered. "The fire was Levi's idea. Things just escalated." "Including the life insurance policy? The one where you benefited if I had an accident?" Silence stretched between them. "I never would have gone through with that part," Melody finally said. "Forgive me if I don't believe you." Bryant's voice remained emotionless. "You have nothing I want, Melody. Not explanations, not apologies. Nothing. They're my children too," she pleaded. "You can't just erase me from their lives. You did that yourself. Goodbye, Melody." Bryant hung up and immediately called Diana. "Melody just contacted me directly. Violation of the agreement." Diana sighed. "I'll file the motion in the morning. This means the remaining charges can be reinstated." "Good," Bryant said simply. The next week brought news that Melody's sentence had been extended to 10 years with no possibility of early parole. Meanwhile, Levi's offshore accounts were frozen after anonymous tips to financial authorities in 3 countries. Vincent Russo appeared at Bryant's construction site unannounced, watching silently as crews erected steel beams for a new commercial project. "Impressive recovery," Russo commented when Bryant approached him. "Word is you're expanding faster than before." Bryant shrugged. "Quality work speaks for itself." "Indeed it does, as does the systematic destruction of one's enemies." Russo smiled thinly. "Preston's associates are most distressed about their vanished investments." "Financial crimes have consequences," Bryant replied neutrally. "So, I've observed." Russo handed him a business card. "When you're ready for larger projects, call me. I appreciate a man who can be thorough." That night, Bryant burned the card and deleted the final copies of evidence from his secure drives. The originals remained with his attorney, insurance against any future threats. Within a year, Bryant's construction company had not only recovered, but expanded, building a reputation for both quality and integrity. His children were thriving in their new school, the trauma of their mother's betrayal fading under Bryant's steady guidance. Only in private moments did Bryant allow himself to reflect on the calculated destruction he'd engineered, not with regret, but with the cold satisfaction of a man who had protected what was his and punished those who had tried to take it. Chapter 9. Aftermath. 5 years passed. Bryant's construction company had become one of the largest in the state, known for innovative designs and ethical business practices. The children had adjusted well. Liam, now 12, and showing his father's aptitude for building things, Aubrey, 10, and blossoming into a confident young girl with her father's resilience. Bryant had dated occasionally, but kept relationships casual, unwilling to introduce potential disruption into their hard-won stability. His focus remained on his children and his business, the betrayal a closed chapter he rarely discussed. Until the letter arrived. The prison stationery was unmistakable, as was the handwriting. Bryant nearly discarded it unopened, but something, perhaps curiosity, perhaps a desire for final closure, made him break the seal. "Bryant, I'm being released next month. 5 years, just as promised. I've had a lot of time to think about what I did, what we lost. The children must be so grown now. Liam would be 12, and Aubrey 10. I know I have no right to ask, but I'd like to see them. Just once. To apologize. To explain that what happened wasn't their fault. They deserve that much, don't they? I'm not the same person who betrayed you. Prison changes you, strips away pretenses. I understand if you hate me forever, but please don't punish them by erasing half their history. Melody." Bryant read the letter twice before calling Diana, now a judge herself. "She's really getting out next month?" he asked without preamble. "Good afternoon to you too," Diana replied dryly. "Yes, her release is scheduled. The parole board decided she's been a model prisoner, teaching GED classes, counseling other inmates. Very rehabilitative narrative. And the no-contact order, still in effect regarding you. But regarding the children." Diana paused. "Bryant, they're older now. The court might consider allowing supervised visitation if she petitions for it." Bryant's jaw tightened. "They haven't asked about her in over 3 years. That doesn't mean they don't think about her. Children are complicated." Diana's voice softened. "What are you going to do?" That evening, Bryant sat his children down in their comfortable living room. "I received a letter from your mother today," he said, watching their faces carefully. "She's being released from prison next month." Liam's expression hardened immediately, a mirror of Bryant's own mask. Aubrey looked confused, then curious. "She'd like to see you," Bryant continued. "That decision is entirely yours. I won't force either of you, and I won't think less of you whatever you decide." "I don't want to see her," Liam said immediately. "She tried to hurt you. She left us." Bryant nodded, acknowledging his son's loyalty without reinforcing it. "Aubrey." The 10-year-old twisted her hands in her lap. "I don't really remember her much anymore," she admitted. "Just bits and pieces. Would it be bad if I wanted to see what she's like now?" "No, sweetheart. Not bad at all." Bryant kept his voice neutral despite the conflicting emotions surging through him. The next day, Bryant arranged for a supervised visitation center to manage any potential meeting. He would not be present, could not trust himself to be in the same room as Melody without his carefully constructed controls slipping. A week before Melody's release, Bryant received another call, this one from the prison chaplain. "Mr. Rayner, I'm afraid I have difficult news. Melody collapsed in the yard yesterday. By the time medical help arrived, she was gone. The preliminary finding is an aneurysm, though the medical examiner is still investigating." Bryant listened in silence, feeling nothing but a hollow emptiness where rage had burned for so long. "She asked me to give you a message if anything happened to her," the chaplain continued. "She said, tell Bryant he won. Completely. And that I'm sorry." That night, after sharing the news with the children, Aubrey crying, Liam stoic, Bryant sat alone on his deck, watching stars emerge in the darkening sky. 5 years of methodical retribution had consumed him, transformed him. He had rebuilt his business, his reputation, his children's security. He had engineered the complete destruction of those who betrayed him. And yet, with Melody's death, he felt no triumph, no satisfaction, only the weight of years spent nurturing vengeance when he could have been healing. His phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Heard about Melody. My condolences. That offshore account she never knew about just cleared regulatory scrutiny. Lunch sometime? Levi." Bryant stared at the message, rage rekindling. Levi had clearly served his reduced sentence and somehow managed to preserve some of his hidden assets. Even now, he was reaching out, assuming their shared history with Melody might forge some twisted bond. For a moment, Bryant considered igniting the cycle again, investigating, accumulating evidence, orchestrating another downfall. Instead, he deleted the message and blocked the number. Some enemies weren't worth the cost of destroying them. Some victories weren't worth the price of winning them. Bryant Rayner had protected what mattered: his children, his business, his future. The rest could burn to ashes, just like the warehouse that had started it all. He would never forgive. He would never forget. But finally, after 5 long years, he would move forward. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, check out the recommended videos on screen. And I'll see you there.